sleep?
To the elephant.
Next to the elephant? Where's the elephant?
On the lamp.
Oh, it's on top of the dresser.
On top of the dresser.
Where's the elephant?
On top of the dresser.
Okay, show me. Point to the...
Notice the nice correction procedure in there? This is all just built in. It looks like they're having fun, but again, it's knowledge about how do you develop those skills, okay? Somebody said the lamp, and it's on top of the dresser. He was given that answer, so he then had to state it, and then, where is he? On top of the dresser. Okay, so correction procedures are being built in throughout. This is not just playing. This is actually structuring the interaction to teach these skills. Okay.
The lamp is an
The lamp is an
Open the...
All right, here I come. Where do you want me to go?
On top of the elephant.
Oh, am I going to go on top of the elephant or go on the rug?
On the rug.
All right, here I go. My turn.
There you go, sweet.
Who did that noise?
He went Didi go sweet.
Who did that noise?
Didi go
Who
sweet.
Who made that noise? Was it the dinosaur?
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm scared. I want to go back to sleep. Don't you wake me up! Who's on my back? Who just woke me up?
Didi go sweet.
I'm not tired anymore.
It's all gone.
Yeah, you know what? I'm awake now.
You're awake.
It's your turn to go to sleep. Your turn. Go to sleep on the bed. Close your eyes. Close your eyes.
What's really nice about this is that it's, pretend play, but it's also using language skills. It's using a lot of concepts. This is, how do you teach kids to play with one another, to do different things, to act out certain things? It takes a lot of work. You don't just sit and kind of run through a couple of activities. You have to have all kinds of changes in activities. You don't want to just teach them one specific play skill and then go on to the next. This is really just a nice generalized type of play. Now, imagine if this was being done, not by a speech and language therapist who's well trained and can develop all this, but with some other kids, doing some play activities with other kids. That's really what we're hoping for, is that as you start teaching these things, that you can start interacting with other kids in a similar type of a manner, okay? But this is good.
Are you snoring?
Yeah.
All right, let me hear you snore. Snore!
You hear it?
He went down Didi go sweet to the zebra.
Oh, again?
Yeah.
How about if I go to sleep next to the closet doors?
Yes.
Okay, here I go. Where am I going?
Didi go sweet down to the closet.
Where is the closet?
On the door.
Where is it?
That's in the closet.
Oh, is it next to the dresser or is it next to the zebra?
That's in the zebra.
Oh, the zebra's over here.
That's in the closet.
Is it next to
So
the...
he's going next to the closet. So he can't answer that very well. He can't tell about where something is next to very well under these conditions. That's a little bit different. He wants to go sleep next to the zebra, sleep by the elephant. But now, where is the closet? What's it next to? That's a different type of a question, right? So again, this is all just generalization of concept, where something is, and then talking about it. Also using it under manned conditions, where he says where he wants her to go sleep by the zebra, go sleep by the, and this is a tact condition, so where, with a tact condition, so where is that closet? Well, it's next to the dresser, so now that's a different type of a question. So she's really working this extremely well. There's all different variations on where type of questions you got to be able to answer as a kid.
A dresser or next to the zebra?
Yeah.
Where's the closet?
Next to the closet.
Next to the
Dresser.
dresser. That's right. Where's the closet?
Next to the dresser.
Point to the dresser.
A dresser.
That's right. There's the dresser. Where should I go? I'm going to go
Next to the closet.
next. I'm going to go on the rug next to the dresser. There we go.
Next to the closet.
I'm going to go right next to the closet. Don't you wake me up. I'm a sleeping dinosaur.
You get the idea. There's lots and lots and lots of language that can be done just playing around with kids, having a good time. Okay, but this is a very nice little therapy session. It's not boring whatsoever. He doesn't know that he's working on some skills that are being taught to him. He's just playing around with her. But in the context of playing around, she's actually teaching him these discriminations, and you can see how she's doing the correction procedures real nicely. So it's not what I call the drill and kill type of an approach, like let's answer this question, let's answer that question, but she's mixing it up. They're having lots of fun, but he's getting lots of practice on some critical discriminations that he needs to learn. So this is where, when you start looking at some of these sessions, it can be playful like, it can be sit down at the table and do it. You can do a little bit of both, no problem. But anyhow, I just wanted you to see that, because I was watching that actually last night for the first time. And this is brand new, that's why I know it's brand new. And again, when I see these kind of things, it's the skill of the therapist knowing what it is they're trying to teach and how to get them to keep practicing it. And that's why you can appreciate now, when you go back to 1987, when Lovaas put out that article about how they made an impact on kids by having relatively minimally trained therapists out there following the procedures, they still were able to get a number of kids doing well. Imagine if you have the ability to have people who are sophisticated teachers be able to mix up all these trials while they're working with kids under a wide range of contexts, getting that generalization. Because one of the things that did happen with a number of kids was when you start running these trials over and over again, and if you don't mix it up and you don't keep it fun, you'll often get escape and avoidance behavior. And that's where a lot of people were asking me about, what do you do in a kid who's acting up? Well, it's like, well, that's a big issue in and of itself, because there could be many reasons why they're acting up, and then you have to do a functional analysis of it. But bottom line, kids who are having fun, they're practicing, they're being successful, they're coming in contact with lots of reinforcers, don't give you much problems. It's when the kids are not gaining access to real reinforcers, things that actually are reinforcing, they're not being very successful. That's when you start getting a lot of disruptive behavior. So that should be a clue. That's another workshop in and of itself, I hate to say it, to do a functional analysis of the behaviors. But when kids are successful and they're able to gain access to reinforcers by participating in learning tasks, you don't have much in the way of escape and avoidance behavior. Okay, so that's why this is another reason that this is such a good little session. Now, I want to kind of go over one other issue with you. We talked before about inclusion, and we talked about it a couple of different times. And one of the things I said is that when it comes to being included in a regular education environment, there are some benefits to that, but there's also some drawbacks to it. One of the benefits of being included in a regular education type classroom is the fact that you have got all these appropriate models around you. Now, if you can't imitate the models, you can't understand what the models are saying, and you can't use your language in a way that reinforces those other kids for interacting with you, you may have some problems there in terms of learning new skills. Another problem is the fact that it goes so fast for kids in a typical environment that the child may not get enough practice on the critical skills that they need to learn. And we talked about that earlier. If you need to develop your introverbals, you're probably not going to be doing it by kids who are already doing it at a very high rate all around you. You know, you need somebody to sit there and practice with you so that you get to learn to talk about things. So this little girl that I'm showing you here, this is the Five Little Monkeys girl, okay? And what was interesting about her was we had her involved in a preschool for part of the day. But the rest of the day was that of direct teaching of the language skills she needed to learn. It wasn't, do we put her here or here? It's no, we put her here and we do this here also. Because she would not pick up those skills sufficiently to be able to talk about things in this type of an environment. Just not enough practice. However, what she did learn was things like this. She learned to sit and wait her turn while other kids did their sharing. She also learned how to stand in line when other kids line up. She learned to watch what other kids are doing. Oh, the other kids are going in, I need to go in too. Oh, you need to go wash your hands. But this kid, Josh, is cutting in front of me. What's she supposed to do? Well, she's supposed to let him know that you can't cut in front of me. That's not okay. So she learns to stand up for herself. She learned to be able to pass out napkins and plates for snack time. She learned, to give items to everybody that they needed to be able to participate and snack. So she learned a lot from that. She learned about following classroom routines, but she wasn't learning the language skills so much. Now, what's interesting about this particular clip, it kind of highlights that. Because when you watch kids sharing in a preschool environment, it's pretty sophisticated stuff going on. So I'm just going to show you the first part, and I'm going to stop it before this little girl gets started. But I want you to listen to the interactions going on with the teacher and also with the other kids at the same time. Okay? The rest of them are typical. She's delayed.
How's your share? We'll leave it right over here because we're not going home yet, so we don't need to share. Come on, hold it. Who did you bring? Snow White. And where did you get Snow White at?
Okay. Where did you get Snow White? Well, that's not controlled by the items there. It's not controlled by motivational variables. So this is what we call interverbal. Okay, I got them at the store. Okay? She's answering questions about things in their absence.
Did you get other things with Snow White? Because doesn't she have something that goes with her? What goes with Snow White?
What goes with Snow White? Okay, so this is again an interverbal type of an answer that would have to be coming from that because those items aren't there that go with Snow White, right? It's not a motivational variable, so it's interverbal.
Do you have 7 dwarfs? No. Do you have a favorite dwarf? No. Do you like them all? She's very pretty. I like her.
How come you never bring the elves?
Okay, manding for information. Okay, got this little guy over here. Why don't you ever bring the elves? Okay, so he's manding for information about what? This is pretty sophisticated stuff for little 3-4-year-old kids, right? They do it. They do it a lot.
How come you never bring the dwarfs? She doesn't have the dwarfs. Maybe another day she'll get them and she can bring them in. Thanks for sharing her. I'll put her right down here.
So much of the conversation was interverbal in nature, okay? It was controlled by stimuli that were no longer there. It was controlled by verbal stimulus, different verbal response. Now I want you to watch when Elizabeth comes up to do her sharing, okay? Different.
What is this?
Elizabeth, don't say that, Josh.
Okay, Josh is getting it. You're not supposed to say that. He's identifying, he sees the bag, he knows it's her, so he's telling the teacher who it belongs to, right? And then she's getting some social feedback from the peer going, hey, you're not supposed to say that, kid. Leave it alone. It's her turn to say that. But now here comes up Elizabeth for her turn to share.
Who is that? Hey.
Who is that? April. What kind of expressive language is that? It's a tact. It's controlled by the item itself, okay? So it's a tacting response, not an interverbal.
April. Is April a doll? Doll? She's a doll.
Okay, is April a doll? Okay. Yes, no, tact on the features, and turns out that she can't do that. So what does she say? Doll? She gives an echoic response. That's very typical of kids who don't have the right response. They'll give an echoic response. They'll say, what it is they're hearing. Okay? Just like with you, if you said, how do you get down to the price chopper or something? Let's see, to get to the price chopper, you start going through using a partial echoic responding in your answer too. It's a source of weakness of the response, because if you knew where the price chopper is, oh, price chopper, just right down the road here, turn left, okay? That would be a strong response, okay? Weak responses often are met with echoic responses.
What color is April's hair? It's soft, and what color is it? Brown. Dark brown.
See, this is interesting. So she's talking about hair, and she'd probably learned that the hair was soft. They'd talked about it. But so what color is April's hair? She's going soft. Well, she's missing the critical element of what color is it, okay? But she says here, so she's given a response. So she's got a weak tact repertoire even with regard to adjectives about hair and so forth, okay?
Let's see April. Let's see April's face. What is April wearing? What is this? left.
Okay, so now April's wearing a dress. So it's another tact. It's not an interval.
Correct. The dress. Who gave you this? Mama gave you
So who gave you April? That is an interval. Okay.
What's inside here? Let's see. What's this?
What's this?
A tummy.
Tact.
April has a tummy. And April's wearing, what is this April's wearing? She's wearing a diaper.
Another
Is
tact.
she soft and cuddly? Soft.
See, now she can't answer that yes, no, but she knows soft and cuddly. When you do soft and cuddly, is associated with going like this on the doll, okay? So she's learned some things from, but she's not able to answer those specific type of questions, okay?
What is she wearing on her feet?
What's she wearing on her feet? Another tact.
Shoes. I like her shoes. They're like your yellow umbrella that you brought today. Yellow umbrella. Is it? Does April sleep with you?
What's fascinating about clips like this is that when you go in and you listen to some of the stories about some of these children, this child, a developmental specialist went into the classroom, was trying to find the kid with autism, okay? Didn't find the child. Well, which one is it? You know, it's not on how they look. What you have to do is you have to look at the social interaction piece, and you have to listen very carefully for the language piece. If you took a look at this, and I've had many people who saw it without me explaining it and say, oh look, she's just like the other kids. I'm going, yeah, she is kind of like the other kid. She sits on the floor like the other kids. When they get out her stuff, she goes up and shares, and she answers some questions about it. But when you dissect it like I just did for you, it turns out this kid is much different than the other kids. And she's not going to get to be able to answer those questions just by listening to those other kids talking. It isn't going to happen. She needs to be taught each and every one of those concepts before she's going to be able to use them like these other kids are doing. That's why she waited until she was 6.5 before she went into a regular education environment. And now she's in the 12th grade as a regular education student, okay? But if we had put her in kindergarten under those conditions, she wouldn't have learned like the other kids, okay? She wouldn't have learned like the other kids. Needs a lot of practice. So that's my talk about inclusion, okay? You know, this whole issue, what we talked about today, like I say, I don't have all the answers. I can't tell you what to do with every child. We have strategies, and we've got to learn each and every child. We've got to learn what skills they have and what skills we need to develop. So with every child, we take the same approach. We take a look at what motivates the child, what skills do they have in their repertoires, what skills don't they have in their repertoire, and then from there we design a language-based instruction program to teach them the language skills such that they'll have the ability to do like Joey was doing there, play with somebody, be able to talk about things and start acquiring new responses under those conditions too. But it's each and every step of the way we have to very, very carefully identify each and every language deficit area that the child has, and we got to go in there and teach it. But we got to make sure that what we're doing is teaching at the right level. You don't want to teach over a kid's head and have them be unsuccessful, because then you got a behavior problem and you're going to have a hard time teaching them tomorrow and the next day. So sometimes, like I say, the biggest piece that I have with a lot of people when I work with them is making sure that they're teaching the right skills. You know, don't teach giraffe and zebra unless the kid likes giraffe and zebra. Teach them stuff that you're going to talk about. They can understand. They'll hear you talking about. They can use every day. But when it comes to picking an environment for the child, some of the most critical elements that you need to consider are, where is the child going to be able to learn the most skills the quickest? Because, quite frankly, we don't have time to waste when it comes to teaching language skills to these kids. The faster we can teach them these critical language skills, the less the gap is going to be between their development and the typically developing kids. And so what I'm going to do tomorrow for you is I'm going to be, for those of you who are here, I'm going to be talking about the ABLES are, and I'm going to be going over, you know, what the features of it, how you use it to help select a lot of these language-based objectives for the children. Okay? Anyhow, well, thank you for being here today, and I hope that you walk away with some useful skills that you might be able to use for some of the kids you're working with.